Hey guys, I'm back with another video. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. My name is Jelena and I am your event planner. I am the queen that creates while you celebrate. For those of you who are new to my channel, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And then for those of you who are returning, what's up? Thank you guys for joining again. Y'all the real MVPs. Anyway, so I have something like really exciting for you guys. I'm just chilling randomly with one of my closest friends, and we decided why not do a video. So let me just introduce her. I have Takeesh. She's here today. She's joining us, and Takeesh has been married for how many years?
10 years. 10 years.
I've been married for 4, almost 4. She's been married for 10 years, and so part of event planning, you have to constantly, talk to future brides and future groomsmen, right? And, or groom rather. And I think that sometimes you're faced with being kind of like a counselor. And before we even get to that point, we thought it would be kind of cool to talk about some things that people just they just don't tell you before you get married. So today's topic is going to be 5 things that people don't tell you before you get married. All right? You ready?
I'm ready.
So we're just sipping some, light and refreshing drinks.
Some spirits.
Okay, and we'll get started. All right. So the first thing that they don't tell you when you get married. They don't tell you that as soon as you get married, your entire family and friends and anybody who knows you is going to ask you about kids. I don't know what it is. It's like as soon as you sign the paper, they're talking about so when's the kids coming. And for me, that was a challenge because I was a person who kind of like structured, I guess, quote unquote, structured my life. I planned it out to a T, and I just knew I was going to get married by this age. I knew I was going to have kids by this age. And when I got married, I thought that I was going to have kids the next day or whatever day it was. And it just didn't happen that way. And so I just think that some women, maybe you're not like me, but if you're like me, you kind of go into it thinking that you're going to get married and you're going to have kids. That's just the next step. And when it doesn't happen for you, you feel like an extra pressure on you. Did the same thing happen for you?
I mean, well, I had my daughter before marriage, but it's just something that I think happens all the time. So we had our daughter before we got married, and then still, as soon as that happened, it was like, oh, when's the next one? When's the next one? My daughter's 11 years old now, and it's still a constant question. When's the next one? When's the next one? And I'm like, it's crazy because all these people asking, they're going to have kids, aren't going to help you raise them. It's like it's the right thing to do. So it just seems like it's a societal pressure more than anything. They're not concerned about your finances. They're not concerned about whether or not you guys can build your marriage together, getting to know each other first before you start. It's just like that pressure right off the bat to start procreating.
But why do you think that is though? Like I feel like it's kind of insensitive. I don't really think that I understood it. Like I don't even know if I was one of those people who asked other people as soon as they got married, when are you having kids? But when it happened to me, I felt like it was very insensitive because I was just like, you don't know people's situation.
Right.
And to just randomly come up to somebody and ask them when you're having kids, I just thought that I was insensitive because you don't know. Like, what if they can't have kids? And you're just coming up, oh, when are you going to have kids? Like, fall back.
I think people say it because they don't know what else to say.
How about congratulations?
It's just like the progression of the conversation. Congratulations. So what's next? When are you going to have kids? And I think it's just a traditional statement. I don't think people are conscious of the fact that, that there is so much in between. Like, our generation is different.
Right.
So I think people are just constantly asking. And then, even in our generation, people are having children so much younger. So to see someone in their 30s and not have children, or to just have one, when people are having babies in their 20s, multiples even in their teens, it's kind of like, well, what's going on? Like, why not, right?
Right.
I guess it's a shock to their system that at this age, people don't have like a whole basketball team of children. I don't know. But I do think it's insensitive.
Right.
Because, I mean, you know, people have miscarriages, people, you know, have different things going on.
Right.
And I don't think people are conscious of that before they ask that question.
So what I would say to those that are getting married, the way to prepare yourself for that is to be aware that people are going to ask you that. One thing that actually worked for me is that I had a conversation with the most important person that kept asking me, which was my mom. And I just had to have a heart to heart. And I just said, Mom, you got to stop asking me this. Like, I'm feeling a type of way and it's extra pressure on me and I don't like that feeling. Once she understood where I was coming from, then she had my back towards the rest of the family.
Right.
And like, I don't know what she said to them, but honestly, people stop asking me.
Right.
And I just feel like you just have to be honest. You just have to say whatever it is, or when I'm ready to have kids, I will. And you just have to be very, very upfront with it. But I would just say, just prepare for that. And however you want to handle it, just, you know, have that emotion and talk with your future husband, and so that you guys are on the same page. All right. So now we're going to get into number two. Number two.
All right. So what we came up with is, when you are marrying someone, you have to be aware of the fact that you're not just marrying that person, but you're also marrying their family. That means their parents and their friends. And that includes everything. So Thanksgivings aren't going to be the way that you've always envisioned them. Holidays in general, just different traditions, even in a wedding, you know, baby showers. So when my husband and I, you know, for example, when we were having a baby shower, his family is very large and they're very close knit. And my family is a little bit more spaced out. So we're very formal. And, you know, for the baby shower, I wanted to do invitations, and he was just like, why? It's a waste of money. I'll just tell my cousin and tell this person, and then they'll get the word out, and I'm just like, no, what do you mean? Like, we need a head count, we need,
Oh, you guys are
like,
formal.
yeah, like,
okay.
you know, we need a head count.
Wait, did I plan your wedding?
Yeah.
Wait, I planned her baby shower. I forgot. Okay.
I'm like, we need to do a registry, and like, I don't want people bringing gifts that I don't need, and he's just like, but why? Like, he didn't understand the point of it. Christmas, like, we had our very own traditions, and for him, it wasn't a big deal, especially being Jamaican. We had cultural things that we also had to work out, because in my family, on Christmas morning, you get up, you eat ackee and saltfish, you have, like, homemade hot chocolate, you read some scriptures, you know, you do all of these things, you open your gifts, and then it's like a big Christmas dinner. For him, it was just like, where the gifts at? So I think also learning how to blend your two families if you are going to host at your own home. People don't always get along, and how do you mediate that, and how do you not allow yourself to take sides and get defensive if someone in their family offends someone in your family. So what do you think?
Well, I would say that yes, they don't tell you about that. I think that, I mean, my personality is that I kind of start off really, like, I love everybody. I'm just like, I love everybody, and I want us all to get along, and I'm just like, we're gonna have these big celebrations together. We're gonna spend all these holidays as one huge family.
Can I pause? Because I'm a day before her. So my birthday is December 28th and hers is December 29th, and I am nothing like that. I'm very quiet in social settings. This is even kind of uncomfortable for me. So the fact that she's got this big warm heart, whenever I go places, I'm kind of very quiet. And I don't talk to anyone if I don't know them, but continue.
Yeah, she barely talked to me when we were kids. Like, she didn't talk to me at all. So I don't really know how this happened, but she's a day older than I am. But yeah, I would just say that I feel like I kind of start off really strong, and I think I observe things later on.
Right.
So I think I'm just kind of like, all in your face at first.
You don't catch a shade till you leave.
I don't catch a shade. I don't catch a shade until like 20 days later. And I'm just like, did he just shade me? So, so once I finally catch the shade, I think I kind of take a step back and I'm just like, oh, okay, that was shady. All right. But yeah, I think I kind of just take a step back, and then as I got older, I just started to realize that people are not like me at the end of the day, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Some people really enjoy having large gatherings together, and some people don't. Some people, you know, find value in it, and some people don't. It doesn't mean that they love you less. It's just that's just not what they do. And what I will say is that I appreciate my family because they entertain me. I will say that they definitely entertain me. They may not want to do it, and I think I've come to notice that. But I think that they entertain me, and I just appreciate it from both sides of the family. So, but yeah, they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that before you get married. But that is something that you get used to. And what I would just say is, at the end of the day, to prepare for that.
Warn, right? Like warn the person, your spouse, like, hey, look, my aunt comes over, she might get a little drunk, right? Or, you know, my grandmother is a little bit
shady.
Yeah, right? Or maybe your cousin, you know, might, you know, be somebody who is a little bit more abrasive, not to take anything personal. And I think just that open dialogue about what to expect.
Agreed.
Even if you have to do, if it's a big dinner, maybe you do seating arrangements and sit this person next to that person just to kind of keep the peace.
Agreed. I'm not even going to add to that. I'm just going to say agreed because she nailed it. All right. So the third thing that we have is that they don't tell you that it's a huge pain in the ass to change your last name. So number one, how about make sure you guys talk about if you're going to change your last name. That's number one. But number two, it's like on another level. If you get married in your 30s, you're going to have several credit cards, several like things in your name.
Right.
And you legit have to change every single thing. And it's annoying. It's annoying. I don't think guys, I mean, if you're doing it the traditional way where you're taking his last name, I really don't think guys understand how challenging it is to change everything. Because you literally have to do it each individual like username, like each credit card. Like you have to go to Social Security office, and it's just a lot. So it's challenging. It's a little bit more challenging than what they tell you. So I mean, to me that's a quick and easy one, but they just don't tell you that.
Yeah, I didn't change mine because I gave up.
She didn't change hers.
It's a lot.
I changed mine. My husband's like in the back room, and you can probably see he's like watching boxing. But he made me change my name on Facebook. That was like the first thing. Change your name on Facebook. It was probably like the very next day after we got married. So it was like serious to him.
So mine was changed on social media. But
yeah, on social media.
Yeah, but like the passport, the Social Security card,
it was
the credit cards, the banks,
the only thing that I didn't do yet is change it on my passport. And it's a little weird when we do go on trips because I have to, you know, I use my maiden name, and then when I book his, I use his name. Right. So it is a little weird, but it's not that weird. I'm just like, okay, well, it's all right for today. For this trip, my maiden name. So
yeah. And if you don't change it, I just say be prepared to be thought of as the baby mama, right? Because like my daughter has my husband's last name naturally, and I don't. So a lot of times the teachers don't know, or even like the other parents, they don't know how to refer to me.
I didn't
like
think
they don't know
that.
if I'm a Mrs. or if I'm a Miss.
I never even thought about that.
He's been called Mr. Gooden like before, like because they thought my married name was Gooden, and obviously that would have made him a Mr.
I actually think that's kind of funny. I wonder how my husband would respond if they called him, "Hey, Mr. Redding." I think it's funny.
They don't like it. But yeah.
I think it's funny.
Be prepared for the journey.
All right, number 4.
All right. So I think they don't talk to you about how important it is to discuss financial literacy. I think a lot of times it's rumored that, you know, us women like to go crazy, like to spend money on like makeup, bags, shoes, like we just spend, right? And I think for the most part we do, right? But I think a lot of times too, men have their things that I think are sometimes unreasonable, right? They like big toys. Their toys come in, you know, I guess cars, motorcycles, video games. So things that aren't necessarily, I think, aren't tangible. Like I think me buying shoes is an investment in myself.
Now you know that is nonsense. Okay, well,
it makes me walk into work more confident. I don't know what your video game does for you necessarily.
If it's the boxing one, it helps with cardio, I guess. Yeah.
But I think financial literacy is something that definitely needs to be talked about. You know, career planning. So if you're someone that, you know, wants to be an entrepreneur, for example, that's something that you need to discuss with your spouse because your financial situation may change, right? You may feel like it's important to spend money on private school, and your spouse may think, hey, there's other, like, why am I going to pay for private school if public schools are fine? You know, when you buy a house, what will that look like?
Right.
You know, credit, you know, just all those things, because things that aren't necessarily big become magnified when you're talking about money and when you're talking about finances. So,
right.
Purchasing a vehicle,
right.
Purchasing a house, where to live, you know, are you going to relocate for this job, you know, that's going to pay
Are you going to relocate
figures?
In general?
Right. So,
yeah, that's important. What I will say to help you prepare for that is just to start having those conversations.
Right.
Like, I think that, you know, when you go through counseling, if you go to premarital counseling, those are some of the questions that may come up. But if you don't, then they might not come up. So I would just say, you know, probably if you Google some questions that, you know, what are some questions that you and your spouse should talk about before you get married? Those are probably going to be some questions that appear on Google. And I just say, you know, maybe make it a date night and have that kind of candid conversation. So that way you guys are prepared for it. If there is something that you guys disagree on, then talk it out. You know, I think everything could be talked about, but I will say that we've been married for 4 years, and I think the people that we were when we first got married, we're not the same.
No.
We're not the same now. And like, I even look at certain conversations that we have now. I remember how the conversation went when we first talked about it.
Right.
And it's a completely different perspective.
Right.
And I acknowledge that. I'm just like, yeah, you were not saying that 3 years ago. And the same thing for me. I was not saying that 3 years ago.
Right.
So, you know, just understand that you guys definitely grow together. But I just think it's important to, if you could find a way to address the situation before you get married and at least talk about it, I think that you're on the right start.
Right.
That's what I would say. All right. So the last thing that we have, number 5 of the things that they don't tell you before you get married, is how important it is to communicate to one another. I don't think it's important. I think it's important. You know, when you add like 2 on it, it makes it more serious.
It's real.
I think it's so important, like, to be able to communicate with each other. And I honestly, sometimes, like, I don't think that all the time you could do it on your own.
Right.
Depending on the type of person you are, you could be a very strong-willed. Like, you have to remember that you guys grew up differently.
Right.
Me and my husband, we grew up very differently. I grew up in a very, in my opinion, I'd say it was a strict religious household. I grew up in my mom was a single mom, and I always say that my mom raised me and she loved my brothers. There's no shade at all, but I felt like she kind of raised me to be very strong and independent, and she really like loved my brothers. So I in my opinion, I feel like she kind of catered to them, babied them. still the favorite. Don't tell anybody I told you that. But I'm still her favorite child. Don't get it twisted. But I just felt like she kind of treated me differently. And with that, I was just raised a certain way to just be very independent and just get things done. And from my perspective, I think my husband grew up in a household where he grew up with, you know, his mom and dad, and he grew up, I felt like that his family was a little bit tighter. He's a single child, only child, and he didn't really grow up around a whole bunch of like cousins and stuff. He had friends. Me, I grew up, I had older brothers, I had cousins,
right.
And so I wasn't alone. And so I just think that just the way that you grow up is very different. And when you communicate with each other, the styles are just different. Even from being a man versus a female, your communication style is going to be different. And I just think it's so important to acknowledge that and to understand that just because you're communicating a certain way doesn't mean that they're going to communicate that same way.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you want to remember, or you want to make sure that whatever message that you're trying to, that you want to give to that person, you want to make sure that they're receiving it the way that you're giving it. So if you're communicating in a way that they're not receiving it how you want them to, then you have to change that communication style up. It takes a mature person to acknowledge that. It takes practice to acknowledge that. It takes experience to acknowledge that. But I think that if you know that that's a problem and that's something that has to consistently be worked on, I think you're on a right path.
Right.
What would you add to it?
No, I totally agree. You know, people grow up differently, and you know, certain things that people emulate their home lives, right? So if someone grows up and they see their parents constantly having healthy conversations, right? It might not be a serious topic, but if they see mom and dad talking about, you know, finances, then that person will grow up thinking like, okay, I'm supposed to communicate my finances with my partner. If they see that, you know, mom did their own thing, other parent did their own thing, then they grow up thinking that those aren't things that are discussed.
Right.
So I think you guys have to figure out what is going to make your marriage work and communicate those things. My communication style is different from my husband's, and the things I need communicated to me are very different from the things he needs communicated to him. So you also have to figure out what's important to the other person.
Right. Agreed.
Because I might be communicating all day, right, about something that he doesn't necessarily care about, right? And but it's important to me because I would prefer for him to communicate those things to me. So I think just having that understanding, and you know, like you said, it comes with maturity, it comes with experience, it comes with time. And until you get there, and I don't think it's ever going to be perfect, I think it just progresses as you go along. And it's work. You just have to work at it.
It's another job.
Marriage is another job. Maybe that's what they can tell you.
I'm going to say, so the bonus is that marriage is a full-time job that you need to be that you need to be committed to, and you have to constantly go through training. You have to go through training.
Right.
Sometimes you get promoted and sometimes you get demoted. But as long as you stay committed to that job, then you know you'll be able to retire. Yeah. I guess that's the best way to put it. You grow old together. Right. Maybe you'll take over the business together. Right. You know what I'm saying?
And it takes two. I saw somewhere that marriage isn't 50-50, it's 100-100. It takes both your full effort.
Yeah.
Because if I'm only giving half and my partner's only giving half, then what are we getting, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And I'll leave you with this, because this video is getting long and I try to not have long videos, but I'll leave you with this. There's going to be times where you're going to give 100 and your spouse is going to give 50. And there'll be other times where your spouse will give 100 and you'll give 50.
Right.
All I would just say is that, you know, sometimes you have to humble yourself. Sometimes you have to talk yourself off the ledge. Sometimes you have to, like, be real with yourself, be real with your spouse, and sometimes you just have to put up with more than what you say you're going to put up with, but it's a commitment that you guys made to one another. And while all marriages don't necessarily work out, you just want yours to be different, and you just want to make sure that you put 150% in. So yeah, we made it. We did 5 things that they don't tell you before you get married. So we're expressing this to you guys. For all of my future brides that I have, I'm going to share this video with you so that you can see it. If anything, it'll make you laugh maybe, because we're so brutally honest. We're both Capricorns. We're a day apart, but we're kind of still different. So yeah, we just wanted to be honest and share with you guys. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. All right, if you don't, give it a thumbs up. But until next time, thank you guys for sharing this 20-something minutes with us. And thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, be great, be different, and make a difference in the world. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys soon. Adios. Look.